Hello. Hi. Hi. Hello. This looks like a younger one. Looks like a younger monitor. Let's take a look. Where's he gone? Oh, there he is. Ah, young one. Hello. Come over and say hello. Don't be shy. Hi. Okay, whatever, man. I'm going down. Hello, and welcome back to the Curious Confucian. I hope you're having an amazing day, because if you're having an amazing day, I'm having an amazing day. And if I'm having an amazing day, you too should be having an amazing day. Do you like the scenery? I've just gone into the middle of the Malaysian rainforest. Yes, you know, hiding from all these degenerate leftist communist heathens. Going MGTOW in the woods. Yeah, because I'm a traditional macho man. You know, who feels like he needs a safe space from all these girly men. Urgh! Okay, let's get on with today's video. Right, you know, a couple of years ago, I had an American colleague. This fella was like a carbon copy of Bill Maher, if you can imagine. You know, he's had the same sneering condescension in his demeanor. And as you would expect, he had an Asian wife. You know, he had a Malaysian wife. And the thing is, this American colleague, I knew he was American because he was very arrogant. But the thing is, this guy, despite coming to Malaysia of all countries, was like super pro-Israel. And you know how Malaysia's interactions with Israel are, right? We don't have good relations with Israel. Not that I have anything against the common people of Israel, yeah. Okay? But here's the thing. Because you know, this guy was not a racist, apparently. He was a race realist. And he said that, you know, Israel has shown tremendous restraint. You know, if it were up to me, I would be committing ethnic cleansing by this point. He even gave me a book to read in order for me to get a second perspective, because apparently people from Southeast Asian countries are too stupid and ignorant to know anything about the conflict. He gave me a book by Professor Alan Dershowitz, who's a professor at one of the American universities, called The Case for Israel. And after reading Professor Dershowitz's book and finding out what he did to Professor Norman Finkelstein, it only cemented my case against Israel, seeing what kind of depraved scumbags defend it. Okay, but you know the funny thing is that this guy, this American fellow who's very anti-woke, he's one of those anti-SJW types. I don't know why a lot of them like to come to Southeast Asia. He's one of those anti-SJWs who thinks that the woke mob has overtaken America, la-di-da-di-da, okay? And there's no freedom of speech, so he has to come to Asia where there's real freedom of speech, at least for him, where he can express his views without anybody questioning him, because, you know, many people in Asia are still very meek when they're in front of a white man. So here's the thing. He comes over here and, you know, he's really anti-woke, right? He thinks the woke mob have overtaken the crowd, the feminists have overtaken the crowd, and basically there's nothing woke about him. But here's the thing. He tells me that, hey, you're a leftist liberal, aren't you? You know, you're a leftist liberal. So by that logic, shouldn't you be supporting Israel? Because Israel is a multicultural society with, you know, gay rights, very pro-LGBT, you know, and socialist government, and, you know, and basically a very liberal, open-minded sort of society. So I find it a bit hypocritical that you are supporting the Palestinians, despite the fact that, you know, you have a lot more in common with a typical liberal Israeli guy than you do with the typical socially conservative Palestinian. And this is what we call pinkwashing, and it's a tactic that some defenders of Israel use in order to try and get leftists to basically try and take away the sympathy that leftists like myself or leftist progressives feel towards the Palestinians, the occupied Palestinians, whose lands are being seized from them, whose their houses are being seized, and basically infrastructure is being built over their ancestral lands. Yeah, and it's meant to basically dress settler colonialism up, right-wing white settler colonialism up as a progressive endeavor in order to make it look like, it's the Israelis who are the liberal-minded, cool kids, that the leftists should be siding with. And David Pakman has played that tactic as well. Yeah, he's done it as well. That's why I always I have trouble. I've got trust issues with typical white American liberals, not leftists, liberals, mind you, like David Pakman or Bill Maher, who only understand, who yeah, sure, they speak up for baseline issues like LGBT rights or freedom to dress how you like, freedom to smoke weed, blah blah blah. But that's where their leftism ends. They're no better in all other respects than any right-wing imperialist like Winston Churchill or Theodore Roosevelt, right? The only difference is that they like to smoke weed, they like to do drugs, they like to party, and basically that's it. That's where their freedom, their sense of liberty ends, right? And so the similarity that the white liberal shares with the white conservative is that both of them have a contemptuous view towards non-Western people. At least the white conservative is a lot more obvious about it. Doesn't hide his contempt behind politically correct language. But basically, I always say to beware the anti-woke man in the West, who's suddenly very woke in the East, who suddenly brings up wokeism when it concerns Palestinians, like saying, Palestinians don't have liberal values. And by the way, that's basically treating them like a monolith, yeah, because there are leftist progressive Palestinians, there are Marxist Palestinians, there are Christian Palestinians, and there are atheist Palestinians. Basically treating them like a monolith. And here's the thing. That tactic only works on someone like a white liberal whose sense of freedom is as pale as the color of his skin. But it does not work with a true intersectional progressive, because the true intersectional progressive does not care whose human rights are being abused, whether it's someone they agree with and identify with culturally or not. They don't care. But what is only relevant, the only thing that's relevant is that human rights are being abused, right? So that's why you cannot get a leftist. You can get a liberal, a Western liberal over by pinkwashing. You can pinkwash a Western liberal because they already have a contemptuous view towards non-white people. But you cannot pinkwash a Western leftist, because a Western leftist progressive is someone who understands intersectionality. Just like I'm an Asian leftist progressive, so I understand the concept of intersectionality. I'm not a liberal, yeah, I'm a leftist. Big difference. The thing is, a leftist does not care about whether someone comes from a different culture, whether someone has a different political leaning from them, or whether someone is different from them in ideology or race or whatever. Because to us, every human is equally deserving of dignity. At least every law-abiding human who's not a psychopath, every human who's not a psychopath should be equally entitled to every right, opportunity, and dignity that we enjoy, right? So no, I don't think that 10-year-old or 15-year-old Palestinian kid rotting in an Israeli military prison is some anti-Semitic Nazi commando, which is what the Pinkwashers want me to believe. But the thing is, this tactic is so inefficient. Because let me tell you something. Even if, despite my personal dislike for Thomas Sowell, if his wallet was being pinched and I were in my power to get his wallet back for him, I'd do it. Yeah, I report the thief to the police or something. Because the thing is, I don't care if someone's ideology is different from me, or if somebody has a different, even if it's somebody I don't like, I'll still stand up for him. But the thing is, pinkwashing is a very, very disingenuous and a very sneaky sort of tactic, because it's fascist in nature, even though it appears liberal progressive, because it basically dehumanizes a particular group, painting them into a monolith as being extremely right-wing and extremely militant and extremely uncivilized, while juxtaposing the other group as being very nice, very civilized, and very reasonable, and very, very progressive. So we should support the progressive Israelis over the unprogressive Palestinians. Fuck that. Fuck that. Because I'm not a white liberal, yeah? My sense of freedom is not as pale as the color of a white liberal's skin. Freedom is merely privilege extended, unless enjoyed by one and all. Okay? So, yeah, nobody, even people who are different from us, should be denied freedom and dignity. And that is why pinkwashing does not work on true intersectional leftists. Because intersectional leftists do not care if people come from a different culture or ideology from us. The only thing that's relevant and material is what's happening to them. Thank you.
Debout les dons étaient la terre, debout les forces étaient la femme. La raison tourne son cratère, c'est l'éruption de l'enfant. Du passé, faisons table rase, foule esclave, debout, debout. Les mondes va changer du bas, nous ne sommes rien, soyons tout. C'est la lutte finale qui pour nous est demain. L'international sera genre humain. C'est la lutte finale qui pour nous est demain. L'international sera genre humain.